All right, what's going on, everybody out there? It's Ron Brown, LMT, the People's Fitness Professional, aka Soul Brother number one, reporting for duty. I'm Soul Brother number two when Sheikh L from Syracuse is on. He's no, I'm Soul Brother number three when Sheikh L is on because Soul Brother number one is Bobby Brown, is James Brown, and then he's Soul Brother number two, and then I'm Soul Brother number three when Sheikh L is on. Peace to Sheikh L. Denim L. Thank you, brothers, for coming on this evening. I really appreciate you. I would like to have this bill because I've known of Alim for years and I've known Jelani for years, and I haven't heard anything about them until recently. Like, like bad comments and stuff like that. People having bad things to say about, what they teach until recently, like 2 years ago. So, I've been seeing it, and I would like to address some of the stuff, so things can be clarified or what have you. I think the Moors in particular and the factions, the many factions, quote unquote, are misunderstood because people just write this off as like babble, right? Because it doesn't fit their own perspective on who we are, etc., right? Because some people just want to be black, which is fine. Some people want to just call themselves African Americans. That's fine. You do what you want to do. However, that doesn't invalidate Moorish science or the Moorish diaspora and our perspective, right? So first off, I want to start off with Dr. Alim Bey, El Bay, and you were saying some things about pseudo, and how can I be pseudo because I did this and this, and your pardon me, accolades and your accomplishments, things like that. So I want you to run down your education and things of that nature.
Right. I've been doing this work for 35 years, over 35 years, since I was 19 years old. I've been up on the information as far as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World, or the Moorish Science Temple of America, in particular from out of Lumberton, North Carolina. And the brothers in which that I met with back in '89, when I first got into the Moorish Science Temple of America, they was under the, I guess you can say, the tutelage or the teachings of Charles Kirkman Bey. So that's how I came into the information. And then Lavelle, back in 2000, told me to get in contact with Sister Washington. And I did. And I got my card in which that my name was, at that time was Baru L, Buru L, Baru L, which means the light of God. And then of course, what I was telling you and what I was saying is that we utilize the word pseudo, but someone who pseudo don't have degrees. They don't have degrees. For example, I have several degrees. I have a bachelor's of art degree in sociology, a bachelor's of art degree in history, a MLS, which is a master's in legal studies, which is in law, as well as also a PhD in metaphysics. So that's why people refer to me as Dr. Alim El Bey. Now, to have those accomplishments isn't something to be taken lightly. That is something in which that you have to dedicate your life to. And as well as also me being a master herbalist, I have a brick and mortar business store, which these individuals who are saying that is somebody is pseudo, they don't have themselves. Like I said, they don't have any degree work in any shape, form, or fashion. They don't have it when it comes to Freemasonry, when it comes to school or education. So they are the ones who are pseudo. Is the fact is trying to cause someone who is actually going through the various degrees, both through masonry as well as also in education. To refer to someone as pseudo is beyond me. That's um as Chief Jelani always say, he's either through ignorance or conspiracy. And we just say we'll chalk this one up to be ignorance.
Got you. So now, how long you brothers known each other?
We've known each other since early 2000s, so actually over 20 years now.
Okay. So let's say like 2006, 7, or earlier than that.
2000, 2005.
2005.
So 21 years now. Going on 21 years.
That 2005 to 2000, what, 9, 10, Jelani was moving and shaking.
Hmm.
Jelani was out there.
Well, we was both in the Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs.
Okay, can
He
you
was my
repeat
he was my
that one more
he
time?
was my
Can you
regional
repeat that one more time? One more time.
he was my regional commander
Okay. Of the Great
because he was the
Seal.
southern he was the southern he was the southern regional commander, and I was based in North Carolina. I was an Amir, but he was um, the Amir over the whole region, the southern region.
Okay. All right. Now, Jelani, I think we broke down your history as far as your education and things like that, right? The Navy, you came up, you got into masonry first. That was in 94, I believe, right? 97. And then in the early 2000s, that's when you started building with the Great Seals and
No,
things like
no,
that.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
I came into the movement under John Gibbons Ill under the Federation Moor Science Temple of America. The Supreme Grand Sheik was Jerome Grand Bay, and my Sheikess was Anua Tierra El. We met the Great Seal. They came to our tribe and taught us about the 7-page affidavits that Man God had created. And that was Taj Tariq Bey came down there and talked to us. And that's when we started using that paperwork to convert brothers and sisters into the tribe and into the movement, into the Moor Science Temple. I started doing some more work with the Great Seal, and I met with Kamal Bey in Brooklyn, New York. And I'm paraphrasing because in the last segment I broke it down. And he appointed me and Isis Sheba Il, who was also a Kittiwah member, her to Georgia, me to South Carolina. Then later on, I was promoted to regional commander. It's actually the East Coast regional commander, so I was working north and south.
Right.
And then I got in with Ali Ibn Shael Ali Il with the Embryo Moor Science Temple. And I met my Grand Sheik there, Mayat Spirit Bey. And he ordained me as Grand Sheik Divine Minister at a ceremony in 2006 in Greenwood, South Carolina at Piedmont Tech, where all of the prominent Moorish Americans were there. Eliu Pleasant Bey, Hakeem Bey, Jerome Grand Bey, CM Bey, Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation. I'm trying to think. There were some other brothers there too as well. other brothers there too as well. I mean, there's about 250 people there all together, and they ordained me and 11 other people Grand Chief Divine Minister. You know, later on that year, my crown prince, Dr. Alim, is my crown prince, and Hate Washita Yish. He brought me into the Washita family, you know, and I became one of his lifetime chiefs. And then I was also assigned to do some ambassador work down in Poverty Point with the Empire of Washita, you know. And he also blessed me with giving me my own tribe, the Alatoa Salagi. And so that makes me a crown prince under the Alatoa Salagi sub-nation of the United Washita Day Delta Money.
Okay, so let's talk about this, right? The Washita. How do you say it?
Washita Didugdamanya.
Washita Didugdamanya. Now, when did this start? How did this come about? And break down that history.
You want me to go?
You the crown prince, bro. I ain't about to break that out.
All right. Well, it depends on where you want me to start at. I can start with the Empress over 40 years of research. And with her 40 years of research, there's documentations in which that she came across, in which that clarified a lot of things concerning the land issues and her family lineage. Finding out that the imperial bloodline ran through the Washingtons and through the Turners, who actually were the Washita and the Turnica, which are so-called Native American tribes. But they changed the names to conceal the truth of who the people are. This is the reason why that you find, if any, Europeans are named Washington. Okay. George Washington was not even a Washington. His name was Wessington, not Washington. So that actually was a form of mockery, in a sense, which that is another story. Now, the Empress, based on her research, she found out that not only there's 68,883 acres of land in Louisiana, which from the middle portion up to the upper portion of Louisiana was actually owned by the families. Find out that the whole Louisiana Purchase never was purchased, and that payment was never rendered to Napoleon by Thomas Jefferson. And Thomas Jefferson gave his sentiments at the time concerning the situation, and that the only thing in which that actually was purchased for the $15 million in gold, which never was fully rendered, I might add, and because it was never fully rendered, services cannot be given. In fact, it was only, I think it was only about maybe $11,750,000 in gold. The other $3,025,000 in gold sunk off the coast of Florida, between Cuba and Florida. So, like I said, full payment was never rendered. So therefore, the land automatically turns back over to the heirs. And so in 1848, based on the case called the heirs of Turner versus the United States, or the heirs of Turnica versus the United States, the heirs of Turner or Turnica won the case against the United States, showing and proving that there were indigenous people here, and that these indigenous people looked like you and I, and they was not slaves in any shape, form, or fashion, because slaves could not sue. This was the whole thing about the Dred Scott case decision, which was based on nationality. He had none. While this was done by Judge Taney in 1856, 1857, we find that in 1848, the same judge, Judge Taney, after the case got moved up and appealed from Judge McLeod, McCabe, I believe that's his name. Yeah, McCabe. Judge Taney gave the ruling that the land belongs to the original owners, and the original owners were the Turner family. Now, Eliza Turner happened to be the mother of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So therefore, Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a crown prince or a prince of Washita with heritage of Cherokee, because the name Drew is a name that you can look up on the Oklahoma Historical Society website on the Dawes Road, and you will find that Drew is Cherokee. All right, the last name, the surname. And Eliza Turner, due to the fact that she owned land, she was one of the empress of the Washita. So therefore, when Prophet Noble Drew Ali made this statement that he did not tell the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America about his mother and father and who they were, because he did not want to make over them like they did Jesus' mothers, Mary and Joseph. He was right and exact, because in this sense, the landmark case showed and proved that the land all the way from Louisiana all the way up into almost the whole of Canada is ours. So that is the and this has been shown and proven in Supreme Court case law. The heirs of Turner versus the United States. So I mean, and there's so much that I can go into, but I'll leave it there for right now.
Okay, now I want to. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Now, let's say, for the sake of the words, right? So, at times I think that we're not looking deeper into the titles or names of tribes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for instance, Cherokee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look into Cherokee, if you think about the Cherokees, the first thing that comes to mind would be Native Americans. And the Native Americans, their DNA is different from ours, if you will, right? Even though they are original people. But we are not from their stock, if you will, right? The Native Americans. I mean, like, as in how, the world sees, or, North people from this part of the land see Native Americans, right? They see them as, the ones with the, how they, right? Commercially,
right.
how they're seen commercially. So what would you say to people who would say those Indians are not like the Moors or the African Americans, so to speak?
Well, Prophet Noble Drew Ali is said to have been raised on the Cherokee reservation. So
who
that's
are the Cherokees?
That's number one. Why would that be mentioned in the historical value, in the historical reference, if it did not have any value? So Prophet Noble Drew Ali was raised on the Cherokee reservation. That was significant so that we would be able to go back and look at these various roles historically and see where our surnames, our family lineage ties back to, and that is here in the Americas. So that is the purpose of that. It has nothing to do with me having info eyelids or or looking Chinese, Siberian.
Right.
Because the original Cherokee or Seleki or Ani Yunwiya people, which means we the people, or the original people, did not look like that. They look like you and I. And that's a proven fact. Historically, matter of fact, there's a book on the Cherokee in which that they tell you the bloodline of the Cherokee, and you see the word Moor, you see the word Carthaginian, you will see the word Phoenician. So these are all dark-skinned, woolly-haired, heavy melanated people.
Okay. Okay. All right. Brother Jelani, would you like to add on?
Well, like the Crown Prince said, it's coming out now that 85% of the people that look like me and you are actually Aboriginal and indigenous, and a lot of the surnames are actually indigenous as well. Some of them have been transliterated and have been hidden. The prophet also told us that we were already home. See, he spoke in allegory. He dropped hints.
Mm-hmm.
He told us we were already home.
Right.
And they have a long way to swim.
Mm-hmm.
See? So, with all the information coming out now, I don't understand why there's such confusion. These people come from Siberia. They came off the Bering Straits. As a matter of fact, when the European first got here, we were over 2,000 years into war with them. We defeated them. And we were sorry for the background, but we were gracious enough to let them dwell in teepees, tents, and migrate with the buffalo, with the bison, and we allowed them to travel in the canoes. But at that time, we had long houses, adobes, clay houses. We had summer housing. We had winter housing, where we would migrate along with the season change. So of course this history is not going to be told in our schools, because that would ruin the narrative of white superiority, or I should say European superiority in a foreign land as immigrants.
Okay. Now I have another Islam.
And according to the oral statements and prophecies of Prophet Noble Ali, he stated specifically that there was Moors living up and down the Mississippi River prior to the invasion of their territory by the Europeans. So he said the Moors was already here, as Chief Jelani already made that statement, and that's the truth of the matter.
Mm-hmm. Now,
so there is no confusion if people did their research. Right now they're getting 3-minute sound bites from TikTok, and they believe that they got all the resource that they need instead of picking up an actual book and going to the library.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think where people misunderstand is, I believe that we see things from with like a horse with blinders. When we see a word, like for instance Cherokee, we automatically say Native American, and we don't think of any other nations that could be attached to that name. And because we don't do the research, what I'm saying, we don't look deeper into things. So what's the difference now? Here's I think what would make people think a little bit. What's the difference between Negro, black, colored, Indian? Let's go with Indian. What's the difference between a African American and an Indian in the word sense?
The word Indian originally, according to when we look up the term Indian, came by way of a alleged mistake by Christopher Columbus, in which that he spoke Portuguese, and Indios means God's people. So that is the term Indian. Okay. Negro, we know Negro come from necro, which means dead. And this is where Prophet No Drew Ali got the statement that black means dead in law. Talking about the word specifically of Negro. Negro is necro, stemming from necro, which means dead. And then, of course, African, the term African is on the words of ancient Kemet. Afu means temple or body. Ra means light or sun. And then, of course, Ka means spirit. So that's talking about the light or the spiritual light in the body. So there's nothing wrong with the term African in its original sense. There's nothing wrong with the term Indian in its original sense. Now, there might be something wrong with the term Negro in its original sense. However, we know Afro is a hairstyle. And we're looking at these various terms, black. If you look up the Black's Law Dictionary, it's not going to give you the term black. It's going to say black person. And it tells you in there that a black person has basically no substance. So it's like a straw man's name, essentially, because anything in which that has no substance is a straw man. We know that Dorothy was on a yellow brick road, and first person she ran into was the scarecrow, the straw man, and he was looking for a brain. He had no substance. The next was the tin man, had no substance, looking for a heart. So, that's what they have taken the word black to mean. And then, of course, in the original sense of the term black, we get the word blanc, black, bleach, which is pale. So I believe that they say you have the denotive meaning and the connotative or cognitive. What was it? Cognitive meaning.
Connotative.
Yeah, right. Connotative meaning.
Yeah.
So we have to look at these particular things. When we looking at words, we have to look at the origin and look at the usage that we utilize it today. So that's the issues with those particular terminologies.
Peace,
Now,
God.
when you get to the word,
Peace, God. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm listening. Pardon me.
Yeah. So we look up the word indigenous. Indigenous went back to natural person. I believe it was in Black's Law Dictionary, seventh edition, and you look up natural person. The first word for natural person is the term indigenous. So a person who's indigenous is also recognized as a natural person. They're simultaneous. When we look up the term Moor, well, you look up the word land. Land has the word Moors embedded inside the definition. And because of that, that means that land and Moors are synonymous and are interchangeable. So you won't have a problem with being called a Moor if you're trying to tie yourself back to land. Because anywhere that the Moor steps his foot at on dry surface, i.e. land, they're one and the same.
Right. So this is what trips me out, right? So like when you look at the first degree in a student enrollment and you tie yourself to one specific part of the planet,
right,
and say that's the end all be all, you miss the whole point. Right. And I don't understand how people can't link that degree with Moorish, the word Moor, the lineage of Moors, the history, etc.
Right.
To me, it's a direct link.
It is. It is.
I don't understand how people are missing that, but you could hit me up in the chat, let me know how you missed that. Anyway, now the next thing I want to talk about is sovereignty, right? So how do you see sovereignty? So now sovereignty in that movement that was brought about by I would say the patriot movement.
Mm-hmm.
From what I know, the Europeans created that whole movement. Moors
That's
started.
funny how they always say the Patriots or the Europeans. The Europeans, they use the law, all right, and law can be utilized by anyone, whether they're European, African, Native American, American Indian, Moor, or etc. It's law. And law originally was based on universal laws. We get also natural law, because natural law is for natural persons, natural beings. All right. Then we have common law, but it's common sense law. Common sense law. That's what that is. So they're telling you about common sense law. They're not taking any law in which that would go against the Constitution, which is a document in which that the Iroquois Confederation of Moors made for the Europeans in order to be able to conduct import and export at our ports. That's all they were supposed to have been doing. Importing and exporting. All right. That's not a flag. That is a banner that they have, in which that we gave to them. The eagle, which made them associated or adapted into as the 13th tribe. That's why the number 13 is prevalent with the eagle on the back of, on that seal.
Wait, the 13 tribes of what 13 tribes?
We adopted them into the 13 as part of a 13 tribe adopted. We are the original 12 tribes of Israel, and we adopted them as the 13th tribe in order to conduct business and have protection from King George III, who was a brutish Moor, a Moor the same though, who was, as we know, was married to Queen Charlotte, in which that Charlotte, North Carolina was named after. Georgia was named after King George. So this is what historical information have told us. So we looking at it from those particular perspectives. The Iroquois Confederation was also dealt with the Chickaquoy, who are the Cherokee or Selegi, or who's known to Ani Yunwiya. They have 5 different names. Also with the Lenape, who are the Nanacoats, who known as the Delaware Moors. That's why they was called Moors, is because the Sultan in which that George Washington wrote to, who's known as Ibn Abdullah Muhammad Bey, was the Sultan, but he resided in Bronx, New York. And he signed what we now know as the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and Morocco, Morocco, or known as America, on the Delaware River, on the banks of the Delaware River. And that is historical, because when you look at the speech, it doesn't send that notice or that of the information in which that Washington was greeting His Majesty, who was talking about the Sultan. That was it was mailed to New York City. It wasn't mailed to Africa. You know, they have us thinking, oh, it was the country of Morocco. It was the kingdom of Morocco. No, sorry. It was right here. This is the America or the Al Moroccan which that recognized them first. So when you in court and they just come out, well, we don't recognize the Moroccan Empire. You're right. You can't, because we recognize you. So that's the science of sovereignty. Sovereignty goes to the fact of who has the superior position. It's called the United States of America, not America of the United States. That means one have the superior position, and that is America. And we are the Americans, or Al Moroccans. They are United States citizens with a small c, which means a citizen in that sense, according to their own definition, is servant.
Okay. And you want to add on, Jelani?
Well, Islam, I mean, as usual, Brother Prince, he broke things down, but you have to also understand that in their legislation, they acknowledge, who is the superior people. 1824, they acknowledge that the copper tone people are the Americans. And then in later legislation, they say that they later adopted the term for themselves. That was during the decline of the Moors. But the fact still stands that the only Americans are the copper tone inhabitants of this continent. Period. What we had was a miseducation and propaganda to make us think differently. You got to remember, sovereign means supreme ruler of the land. This is why we reject the term sovereign citizen. It's an oxymoron.
Exactly.
And we as Moors can't even accept that term. They put that term on Moors by calling them black sovereign citizens, all right, to make them what the Europeans are doing. Europeans don't mind shooting up cops. They don't mind doggone standing off with the authorities. So the propaganda has to try to put us in that same box, make us dangerous, when the only thing we want is freedom and want to live. But that's what scares them, because they know we are the rightful owners. Waking up now. There was a time where we went to sleep and was totally ignorant of who and what we were. Fed into that roots narrative. See? But now that we're waking up and we're understanding the truth, and they're seeing what Prophet Noble Drew Ali had put down was real, right, and exact. This is where the problem is. A lot of times people don't understand when we get into situations, me and the Crown Prince both, we've been in situations where we've had conflicts with the police. You got to understand, if being a Moor was nothing, then you would not hear anything about them in the news. They have to paint a negative picture so that the Negroes are too scared to proclaim their nationality.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. If we were nothing to be worried about, then it wouldn't be an issue. But just imagine, take the little town of Greenwood, South Carolina, where I started my education. They waged war on us. Why? If we converted every copper tone person in Greenwood, South Carolina, there would be no revenue for Greenwood, South Carolina. They couldn't issue tickets and court cases and stuff like that. They couldn't, use bonds and trespass on estates. So it's an issue with them. Islam, I yield.
All right. Now, as far as the whole sovereignty movement and things like that, do you agree or disagree with that demonstration? Its origin, like its origin. I forgot the
The
guy.
posse comitatus.
Right.
Yeah, the posse comitatus. You got to understand, those Europeans are mad with the United States because they helped take us over. And once they helped us, the United States turned on them, put them in the same category that they put us in.
Right.
In 1933. See, they made all American citizens slaves by that birth certificate. Franklin Delano Roosevelt with the
House
May
Joint
5th,
Resolution 192.
House Joint Resolution 192. See, so now a situation that was designed for the original people, the Moors, they put them in that category. And they, what? Wait a minute, I did the dirty work for you. Now you making me a slave too? Oh, you damn if that's so. You know, I'll slap some lead into you first, and that's been their MO. We have no horse in that race. It is a war between the Europeans, the immigrants here.
Now I have a question. What's the difference between what the prophet brought, which is the Moorish sign symbol of America, and his setup from the the bylaw, the Constitution and bylaws, and the additional laws in the back of the 101, and what's the difference between that setup and Washita?
It's the same family.
I see no difference.
Right.
Okay. So
Okay. I explain because I don't want people to just be like, okay, they answered that. That was it. Okay. All right. Prophet Noble Ali, mother Eliza Turner, was the empress of the Washita. Her first cousin was Annie Turner. Annie Turner is the mother of the late Empress Verdiasi Gaston El Bey. Therefore, Prophet Noble Ali and her were first cousins. Okay. Prophet Noble Ali and myself first cousins, but he was 4 times removed, but he was 3 times removed because he was end up being adopted by James Drew and James Drew's wife Lucy or Louise Drew, okay, who was the children of, James Drew was the son of Frederick Drew. Frederick Drew was the brother to John Drew, who was, once again, the father of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Okay? So, this is the family connection here. All right. So the teachings of the family line, he put within a functional family religious, I guess you can say, school of thought. So now first as a civic, all right, but overall it still is a body politic because he did not want, this is what was said by Prophet Noble Ali. They go back and read his Moorish literature. All right. The 14th, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment would never have been necessary if they just basically went by the Declaration or the Declaration of Independence, which was life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All men are created equal. If they left it at that, then there would have been no need for anything else. So that means that he got into constitutional issues. When you say that there was no need for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, that's constitutional. So when Moore say that, well, we ain't had no part in the Constitution, well then, what Prophet Noble Lee making mention of it for then? Why is he saying that we never needed the 13th, 14th, 15th? In other words, he got into constitutional law. So we're not supposed to, I thought we were supposed to be following the example. You see, these are the contradictions. I mean, and to tell you the truth, come on. We find out that his name is Thomas Drew, not Timothy Drew. So for
Thomas Drew. Hold on.
Yeah, his name is Thomas Drew. Yes, his name is Thomas Drew.
I've never heard of it.
His name is not Timothy Drew. You know who made his name Timothy?
Who's that?
Aaron Payne. Aaron Payne was the lawyer in the Moor Science Temple. He ended up being the second business manager. And he is the one who told his father, who was a doctor, to put on the death certificate that his name was Timothy. So for the last 90 years, all right, almost 100 years, for the last 100 years or so, they've been saying his name is Timothy instead of Thomas. So the information in which that is being interpreted and being perceived is not even accurate. It's not infallible, because his name was not Timothy. His name was Thomas. And I got information on that. If we want to come back and do another class on that.
Yeah, for sure. I got to see that.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I've never heard of Thomas. Okay, so the Washita, D. Doug Demunya, would consider themselves Moors, of course.
Right.
Have the Washita always considered themselves Moors from the start?
Yes.
Given the lineage?
Yes.
Okay, and this was founded in what year?
It wasn't founded in a particular year. This is an ongoing thing with the matriarchal system in which that was originally here. If you get the book called America, on the cover of the book, you will see two Europeans holding up a sister, who is the matriarch, which symbolizes that America is the matriarch. And even when you look at the paintings in which that they was given descriptions of America, it was always a dark melanated sister. So this has always been a matriarch. So it was following in that same line of thought of a matriarch. So the Empress wasn't the first. She speaks of her grandmother.
Now,
Now,
what do you say about all the court cases that Moors have gone in and battled with the magistrate, or whatever you want to call it? What about all those court cases that Moors lost?
I've lost one court case out of probably about maybe 25 court cases, brother. And I've only lost one. Okay. All right. I can show proof of my dismissals, saying I have fictitious tags, dismiss. Saying I have fictitious affidavits, dismiss. I have fictitious ID, dismiss. All of this was dismissed. So over and over again. whether it was the state highway patrol, whether it was the police. Now, the sheriff never messed with us.
That's interesting.
That's because they know.
The sheriff.
The sheriff.
Right.
They never messed with us. I never had an issue with the sheriff. Matter of fact, we started getting to the point where the police will harass us. We would call the sheriffs on them. And the sheriffs would come out and tell them to leave us alone.
Okay, brother Jelani, with your experience with court cases and successes and failures.
Well, I mean, just like the Crown Prince said, I've had successes and failures, but it was due to lack of knowledge. When I first came in, like most Moors, gentlemen, my grandsons, like most Moors, they were indoctrinated with the same education by the same person. Here's the problem. You can't use constitutional law in a municipal court. A municipal court can't even address constitutional issues. So you got a lot of Moors that were locked up for contempt. If you ever mention that Constitution again in my court, I'm going to charge you with contempt, and they would lock them up. My experience is issues have been erased from the record. See, so they might have done this, that, this, probable cause situations, but the next thing you know, it's gone or it's sealed. And the seal is to prevent you from retaliating. See? So, and that's when I learned the correct procedure for law, how Moors are supposed to address the situation. This is why a lot of times they'll say, well, what's your real name? Because they can't do anything to the Moorish name. See, they don't have a contract with the Moorish name. They have with the birth name, the estate trust. But we didn't get this information until the late, 20s. I didn't get this information until 2008 was the first time I got this information. And I realized that we were using the wrong law in the wrong court. You can't use constitutional law in a municipal court because that municipality is based on the city council's ordinances and not constitutional or religious law. I learned later.
Even though they took their oaths to the Constitution.
That's right.
Even though they took their oath to the Constitution.
That's right.
The clerk, the judge, as well as also the DAs, the prosecutors, they all took their oaths to the Constitution.
Absolutely, Brother Prince. But see, that's the problem. We just found out that a lot of the people in the municipal court who's sitting there, they're not judges. Right. They're not magistrates.
Right.
Last week, they were plumbers. Mm-hmm. They took a weekend of a doggone workshop, passed the test. Now they work for the city.
Exactly.
They have no law degree. Exactly. This is why when you come in there with that law stuff, that's how you get arrested for a contempt, because they don't want to look like fools in front of the regular people who are still asleep.
Exactly.
See, that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I had a federal court case, and I had them hands down. But Kerner versus Haynes says that a person who is not schooled in law, in other words, their law,
right,
you have to look at the substance of the case and not the form of the case.
Right.
So the last time they doggone did it, it was against the law, because they were telling me about I didn't fill out forms, I didn't make deadlines, I'm not a paralegal, but they never addressed the subject matter of the complaint. See? So they'll use loopholes to keep from giving you the win.
Right.
You know, so we don't have to go and start getting into their law to fight them. You know, they understand that with religious law, and that's why they shut the cases down, because I use the religious law. Their legislation say they don't have no horse in that race. Their legislation say they don't have no horse in the race. So that when they find out that they violated religious beliefs and practices, now it's time to run. Look, erase everything. Shut down the case. Shut this, that. You know? And when you look back at it, there is no record that these things happen. So, and that's a win. Understand, that's a win. Moors expect you to get a case law on the situation. And there is case law where Moors won. But when they dismiss that case, when they shut it down, those are all wins.
Right.
You know? So,
and they're not going to show those, but you have Moors in which that would show, you know, the losses, because they'll document that. They'll put those on the internet. You know, but as far as the wins, they won't put those on the internet because they don't want you to know real law. Because ignorance of the law is no excuse. Or they are concerned, and therefore they want to keep you ignorant of law, so they can have that excuse in order to put you behind in jail or prison. So I'm not going to show you how to get out of court cases or law matters. I'm not going to do that. Why? Why would I? I'm making money off of you. You are my cash cow. You know, tomorrow I'm going to get you for a seatbelt violation, even though that's allegedly your private car and you're in it and you are the one who's driving it or traveling in it or navigating it. You are the one in which that if I stop you and you don't have that seatbelt on, that's $250. As the police officer, I'm suing you. That's it. You know?
And the lawsuit is actually for a breach of contract.
Right.
No contract, no standing in law. This is why I never understood that when we came out with the Ministry of Land, Transport, and Navigations, it has nothing to do with the right to travel argument. All right. A lot of Moors rallied against it, not understanding that without a contract with the Department of Motor Vehicle, they cannot move against you. See, that seatbelt violation is a motor vehicle safety violation. A motor vehicle is a mode of transportation used for commerce. Those requirements are meant for service vehicles, from a truck driver to a taxi driver. But if you own a motor vehicle, if you own an automobile and it is not registered to the Department of Motor Vehicle, and you do not have a license, which is permission given for something that otherwise would be against the law, then the South Carolina has legislation that says that in order to even take the test, you must be in contract with the Department of Motor Vehicle to even take the doggone driver's license test. See, so the whole thing is about contract and estate trusts. Who controls the estate trust, and where's the contract? If you have control of the estate trust and you have no contracts, case dismissed.
Okay. Thanks, Nicholas Bay, for the $10. Peace to NYP Talk Show family. Gratitude to GEC Jelani Bay and Dr. Alim L. Bay for bringing the knowledge to the Moors. creator of the Boundless Universe. Thanks for the $3. Administrative versus common law courts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
and we were just talking about that. The municipal
Right.
courts are the administrative courts. The common law court is Article 3, Section 2 and up. The federal
Right.
court. See what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the administrative courts, you're not using the same law as you would in the common law court.
So, my last question is, how does the Washita Nation function, and how active is it nowadays compared to, the earlier 2000s, the 90s, and or when you caught wind of it or caught contact or became involved with the Washita Nation of Moors? Is it more active now? Is it dwindling down? What are the accomplishments that the Washita Nation has accomplished, and what's going on in the future for the Washita Nation?
The Washita are the only nation of Moors, American Indians, or Moors, in which that have actually been able to demonstrate in a court case or in court cases that land in which that is in question, Louisiana Purchase, as they refer to it as, never was purchased. It is still Washita proper or Washita property. And that is from the bottom of Louisiana all the way up into almost the whole of Canada. So Washita are the only ones who can actually demonstrate actual land, all right, ties in that sense. Everyone can say that they have land ties, or that they bought or purchased land, or that there was a deed or warrant to that land. But Washita have land grants, the Spanish and French land grants, in which that was passed down and conveyed from the French family. And this is where we got the Haitian involved, because we thinking of French, we thinking of French from France type of no, the Haitians. All right, the Haitians. They was as you know, they spoke or speak French, and they were the Frenchmen. All right, they tied in and married into the American Indians or the Moors in Louisiana to produce what we called Creole. All right, it wasn't the European, pale Europeans. It was the Haitian. So that's number one. Let's get that information straight historically. All right, because many would think, oh, it was just the European and he came in and that's how they got the land. And no, it came through by way of the Haitians, through that family bloodline of the royalties from out of the black nobilities from out of France, from out of Europe.
I keep hearing
Spain.
about the black nobilities out of
Yeah,
out of Europe.
I can go through a whole class on that information. I got presentations after presentations after presentations. God, to put this information together to make sure that everybody know what's really going on planet Earth. So whenever you want to do these shows, just hit me up. I get the presentation ready, and we'll roll with it.
I want to talk about the next podcast with you about the black nobility of families in Europe, throughout Europe, and its connection to the so-called African American last names.
The Habsburgs in particular. Then, of course, you have those in which that from the Habsburg, the empire of the Habsburg, which is the Holy Roman Empire. And then you have those who have gone into Ireland, England, and Scotland. And that's where a lot of our names come from in that regard. You know, for example, my last name surname is Butler, and that's English, but that came through um, the Stewart family, as in King James Stewart, as in that lineage. And we come to find out that King James, as well as many others, were brown skinned, melanated people. They were not Europeans as we would think, because they tell you, oh, King James, he made the Bible, and he decided to get the people together for the Bible. William Shakespeare, known as Francis Bacon, and all of this. But that's beautiful. But there's names in which that carry on, in which that shows that. So the people who have the last name Butler, who have the last name Stewart, those are English names, but it came through the royal bloodline from out of England. The last name Mac, you know, um, that is Scottish, as well as have Ireland tie, but those were the original said blacks or melanated people in that area.
That's
You
my
know,
last name, family name.
right. Who's the who was part of the royal bloodline. So we see that over and over again. So when you get this book, it's called African Americans are not just African. Okay. Um, that book is by Dr. Clyde Winters, PhD, and he specifically states in that book that so-called African Americans are not just Africans. So they think that we're just West African. No, we also are part of the black nobility families from out of Europe. We also are part of the um, American Indian families from in the Americas. And we are a mixture because they married in, to bring forth this royal lineage in which that stretch around the world. So this is why you find the royal lineages in about 60% of our bloodline here in the Americas, because 60% of us have Y DNA, in which that ties us back to E1B1A, which is not just Hebrew Israelites, but it is also ancient Egyptian coming from Ramesses III, as well as also the Moors of the Caliphate Moors from out of Cordoba and out of Granada, Spain. Once again, the royal nobility families.
All right. Now, thank you for that bill right there. All that information. Got to rewind that right there. But the black nobility families, I just
Mm-hmm.
found out about this probably about a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
and the information that I found was just it just threw my whole head off, like because like we perceive the world to be one thing, you
Right.
know,
It's fun.
not realizing that there's so much that we don't know.
Right.
It's fun. When I was in the military, we went to Sigonella, Italy, and Toulon, France, and you can see the Moorish statues like all over the place. And it made me question, Mark, because I wasn't privy to the knowledge of being a Moor, but I was wondering what's all these statues with the afros and the dark skin. And a friend of mine backed that up. He went to the army. He was in Germany, and their pharmacies are called Morin Apatica, and they have a face of a Moor
Even more.
in a turban and a thick beard hanging outside of the shop. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, but before we close out, I just want to let everybody know that you will be seeing the brother Jelani on. Jelani started with us, right? Jelani, like, I don't know how long we were doing this before you came on. Probably like 2 months. We were like 2 months in. Now I was like, yo, Jelani. You know what I mean? So Jelani's been with us for years now. So you'll be seeing Jelani on. Brother Alim Bey has been on. Thank you, brothers, for believing in the platform. You always have a home to come and build on. Brother Jelani, I would like to build with you more on masonry. And brother Dr. Alim, I would like to build with you more on the royal.
Dr. Lean too.
On masonry.
Dr. Lean too, because see, he's the one that privy me the information about Noble Drew Ali and his Masonic education.
Oh wow!
Back in 1910.
That right there would be a mind blower. I would like to see that information right there. Let's build on that at some point. On that note, thank you, brothers, for coming out this evening. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you to the chat. Thank you for the donations. Those donations are definitely going to marketing and all this kind of stuff. So, just to build the brand more. Okay, I came in late. Now I got to rewatch this. Yes, sir. You got to rewatch this from the beginning. Again, thank you guys for coming out this evening. I really appreciate you. If you want to leave any lasting words, you can, and promote your social medias and things of that nature. You can do that now.
www.dralimlbay.com. Go to the website, support us, as well as also come to our event in March 20th, 21st, 22nd. I believe those are the dates. If not, you can check on the website. But we have a 3-day event coming up in March. I'm doing the spring equinox, and everybody's invited.
Okay, in March. Okay, great. Brother Jelani, anything you want to promote?
Other than being at Prince Alim's event? No. You can contact me on Facebook as Jelani Kalfani Bey. Instagram is NGS, National Grand Sheik Jelani Bey. And I don't mind calls, man. 864-917-5572.
So Jelani, easily accessible, man. That's how he is, man.
Open book, baby.
Indeed, yo. All right, man. I'm gonna run the commercial. Thank y'all for coming out, and we are out of here. Peace.
Peace, family. Welcome to NYP Talk Show. This is more than a podcast. It's a conscious platform rooted in truth and culture. From the 5% Nation, Nation of Islam, Moorish movement, and Masonry. Our mission is to reclaim our narrative and uplift the African diaspora with real stories and real conversations. Support us through super chats during live shows, donations on Cash App, GoFundMe, Patreon, or Buzzsprout, and by repping our official merch, available on our website and right here on YouTube's merch shelf. Every dollar, every super chat, every hoodie builds the movement. This is NYP Talk Show.